Ironwood Games. This is Andrew. Thanks for joining. I'm going to do a quick draft Zendikar Rising on Arena. I want to do the quick draft because it's with the bots. Full disclosure, I really... I haven't been playing Magic much since the store closed about 2 months ago, I guess now. And really, even since the pandemic started in February, March, and we had to shut down for a while. So I have not really been up on the meta on anything. I looked at a few of the previews from Zendikar Rising. I played one kind of pre-release deck, sealed pool that I built, and a couple of matches against some of my friends. And that's really all I've seen of this. So I don't want to have the the pressure of the pressure of the timer, and two, the other players that may pick up the good commons and uncommons that I'm just not aware of yet. Ended up in a really just bad build. I'd rather just kind of build something that at least to me seems like it works and play with some of these cards. And you'll get to see me kind of do some on the fly evaluations and decision making. And we'll see what we do. I have no hopes for this. I just want to have a good time, see what we get. It's been a while, and even when I'm playing somewhat regularly, I have questionable plays. I by no means a top tier player, and we're just going to see. So just kind of looking through roughly here. So I did have this equipment, in fact, in that pre-release pool that I had, and I did like it a lot. Equipment is kind of challenging because you're finding slots for it. The equipment in Zendikar Rising is nice. It does attach when you play it, so you do get to have an immediate impact. The flying and first strike plus a little pump was great. I just want to see what my other options are here. So this creature, this rogue, it's a dual face card with the land. Gets +3/+0 as long as the opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. So I noticed that, I think it was black, I don't remember which other color, if there's another color, has this kind of mill theme or late game buff. So that definitely looks interesting. Rolling Regrowth is definitely good, lets you ramp and then also mana fix. Let's see, I haven't seen this one. Brushfire Elemental is haste, and then it gets a landfall buff. So that's interesting. We could try and take it and go green-red landfall. I think that's the signpost on common there, is telling us to kind of do green-red landfall. I don't know that I want to do that. Mesa Lynx is just an interesting white creature. This one I do like. The Prowling Felidar is pretty good. I think it better than the Mesa Lynx for as far as just a white creature. This I haven't seen, but looks interesting. A 5-mana 3/3 flash flying. Risen Riptide, when we cast a kick spell, becomes a 5/5, so you want to go into some kind of blue kicker. This one's good for party. Right, and then it could be in a life gain deck. I know there's some drain triggers and stuff that I've seen. That's interesting. I don't know what it's going to be good for. Broken Wings sideboard card, most likely. It could be main deck. It's got some modes, but I don't know. And then Reclaim the Wastes is also a great card for your kind of ramp, color fixing. This one's good. And Seagate Colossus is interesting, again, for party. I think for me it's between these two. I'm not really interested in the Brushfire Elemental and going 2 colors right now. I gravitate towards green anyways. And I like the idea of roiling regrowth and then maybe picking up some Reclaim the Wastes and being able to splash you know, a third color, maybe even a fourth color for something like a Maul later on. I don't know that this rogue, I haven't seen it, I don't know if it's good enough or worth it, so I think we're just going to go with that, kind of take this for some ramp and color fixing and stay open, kind of, if you will. Alright, Canyon Jerboa. That's interesting. So the bot took the rare. It's got landfall to pump your creatures, but I don't know that it's great. Another party creature. Looks interesting. Relic Vial. Sacrifice a creature. Draw a card. This is interesting, so it kind of does the drain with your clerics. And then you can sack creatures to draw cards repeatedly, so I guess that lets you have some outs there. Just to go with the green, let's see what we have here. It's not worth it for second pick. Again, I don't think that's worth it for second pick. Pretty bland. This Blight Priest is interesting in that cleric build. Probably pick one up if we wanted to try and go maybe like Abzan Clerics. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Let's see, what do we have here? Anti-Cognition. So that's interesting. And that one looks kind of fun. I'm going to take this Relic Vial and just see. It's interesting. In general, I don't know that it's going to lead us anywhere, but I did like this card again in that sealed pool I had. Protection is always good. The land cards are kind of interesting and tricky. I haven't figured out how to account for all those yet. Acquisition cards, lifelink as long as you control a cleric. That sounds interesting and definitely goes into our kind of wannabe cleric build. Mind Drain would be interesting. The Kozandu Nectar Pot does gain us some life on landfall triggers, which could go into our cleric build, and it does keep us in our colors just a little bit more. So I think for me it's between these two. Hold on to this, but if we go white, the question is Paired Tactician better? And is it just a good enough card? To do that, do we take a shelter? All right, let's take this green guy. Let's go a little crazy here. I have no idea. Again, we'll just have fun. We'll see what happens. All right, we have Umara Wizard. Instant Sorcerer Wizard spell. It gains flying. That looks interesting. I like Smite the Monstrous. Just as a card. It's pretty decent removal. It does have some limitations. It is has a restriction on it, so it's not everything, but it gets rid of those annoying things that we just can't deal with. This Ghastly Gloom Hunter I played with in my pool, and is definitely fun with the flying lifelink. Makes it something that has to be dealt with. I don't think the Mucklord's worth picking up a black card. Nor do I think the Skitter Sneak is worth, as a 4-drop, picking up a black card. We could just go for a big creature in green that again kind of does some life gain stuff that we might be playing with. Or we could stretch into black here for the Gloom Hunter. Also gives us a flyer, which helps deal with flying threats. Or we could pick up Smite the Monstrous as just a removal. And yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Take it as a form of removal. Have something. We'll see. We've still got quite a ways to go, and we've got some things that'll come back. Cinderclasm is definitely interesting. That elf looks really fun. Draw a card. It's an elf wizard. The utility knife is kind of bleh. I like both of these a lot. I think we wouldn't mind having a couple of each. And I think it's between these, and we could always just set a splash the white right now and go black-green. Again, remember that Relic Vial gives us that drain trigger, which in the end, I think the Blight Priest is better for that. I do like these 2-drops. I don't know, again, with drafting, kind of where our curve is going to go, what the distribution of things is. But let's pick this up now and see if our 3s get too clogged up, and maybe we should have picked this one up, or if we don't get enough of these coming back around. Alright, so we've got that Turn Timber Ascetic that we talked about. We've got a Jiraga Visionary that we've been interested in before. If we're going black, this one's definitely a little bit better here. Of course, we could pick up a white kind of removal for Destroy Artifact or Enchantment to deal with a couple of things. Let's see, Dauntless Unity. +2, +1. It's a combat trick. I'm not sure we're enough white there, so let's see what our uncommons are, though. Taunting Arbor Mage. Arbor Mage enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. So that'd be interesting. Definitely if we had some kind of a Death Touch creature or something that we could pump would be interesting. Zoff Consumption. Sorcery. Each opponent loses 4 life and you gain 4 life, and as a land. I think this just kind of hits all the things we want to do. We're doing okay on creatures. Anything like these we probably can pick up moving forward. I think something like this, we may never see another one. And I don't know. It looks like an 8-point swing, looks good, plus triggering some of these other clerics, if we can pick up some more of those off the drain. Just sounds interesting. All right. Pressure Point is another kind of semi-removal. It's not great, but it's something to consider if we're looking at white. Dreadworm I really do like in that 5-drop slot. It would play well with that elf in that we can give it indestructible on a turn. We can land, fall, and play that elf, and then have everything block it. Get in for, you know, some pretty significant damage. Or we have the Turn Timber Ascetic, So they have similar stats at 5 mana for a 5/4. So it's really about the guaranteed gaining 3 life, or turning it into a indestructible thing. We've seen more of these kind of going around, so maybe one of them wheels, and that's the reason I'm going to use. Whether or not it's good or not, that's the reason I'm going to use to take the Dreadworm. Okay, so we could just take a kind of green creature. It has some kicker that'll let us play other kicker cards. We're not big on kicker. I don't think we have any targets for it right now. But again, we don't need to kick it then if we don't have anything to do. Angel Heart Protector would be so good if it had flash, but it doesn't, so it doesn't actually save anything. I really like this Gloom Hunter, and I think it might be the option just because, again, it's going to trigger our, with the life link, some of this life gain stuff. And we can prioritize some more things that go along with that. The Marasa Brute is just a 3/3 for 3. Again, I think it'll compete in that slot. There's other things I'd rather get. This is Zendikar. I don't know that that's anything worth it. I could definitely see how it would play with those double face cards. We could enchant one of the lands like the Zoft Consumption or the Zoft Blood Bog, and then attack with it recklessly, bring it back to our hand to then cast as a sorcery. I don't know how good that would be, and I really just like these Gloom Hunters. I don't mind having one of those just to put early pressure on our opponents. Gain some life, maybe trigger some incidental things, and then late game we can always put them in as 3/3s for 6. So here I'm going to take the Reclaim the Wastes that cycled again. We are going to at least splash a color here, which looks like white and going green-black. Well, we're not 100% on that. I want to take another Marauding Blight Priest. Again, this goes off all of our triggers. We're passing up the Marasa Brute, which I think the Blight Priest is better, but also the Ascetic, which triggers, which we said was one of those things we could get back. I'm still not sure that it's worth it, and we need a bunch of 5-drops, so I'd rather the 3-drop Synergy. Alright, now we've got some interesting choices here. So Oblivion's Hunger. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. We'll save something on that. Or Mind Drain. Target opponent discards 2 cards, mills a card, loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. These ones are hard to play, in that you kind of want to wait till they have exactly 2 cards in hand. If they know about it, it's easy for them to keep, extra cards. It does let them mill a card, they lose a life. The thing I'm interested in is you gain 1 life, which would trigger our Blight Priests as well, and cost them some more. The thing I'm not excited about is that it's another 3-drop. Blood Price is definitely interesting, and I'm wondering if Blood Price might be better with our life gain that we have. That cost wouldn't be so bad, because getting to look at 4 cards and draw 2 for 4 mana is really not bad. It's the losing 2 life, if we can offset that. Oblivion's Hunger, I think, is just situational enough that I don't know that I want it. I think I would probably pick one up over, definitely over a 3rd Blood Price, maybe over a 2nd. Having multiple of those is not always great. So I'm going to take the Blood Price. Alright, here's where we can either just take a 3-drop that probably don't play, or take another card that we might splash. I think the Cleansing Wildfire would be the one to splash, but I don't know that it's worth it. So I'll take this. I'm going to throw it in the sideboard. Oh, well, I was going to try and throw it in the sideboard. I will throw it in the sideboard. And if we end up, for some reason, not having a bunch of 3-drops, which I don't think will be the case, we can bring him in. The Scorch Rider is interesting. The Utility Knife definitely does more. I don't know that we want to play with it. I'm going to take the Scorch Rider for just as a card that maybe makes something. I think the Disenchant also just ends up in the sideboard for now. Alright, so we're on pack 2. The Spare Supplies is interesting. I don't think it's, definitely first pickable. Neither Strength of Solidarity. I'm not going to first pick a common in an off color that I'm not even for sure playing yet. I don't think any of those are going to be good enough. This Skitter Sneak's not going to be it. Deadly Alliance as a kill spell is definitely interesting and might be worth it. I like Nahiri's Binding. The double white worries me a little bit if that's going to be our splash color. And none of those are worth it. So let's look at... did we look at that? Yeah, so we've got some party cards. Here, nothing in the commons that's really standing out. The Moss Pit Skeleton as a black-green uncommon. Let's see what it does. It has Kicker. If it was kicked, it enters with 3+1/+1s. So for 2, you get a 2/2. For 5, you get a 5/5. And then it recurs when you put counters on other creatures. We're not doing a lot of counter manipulation, so I'm not high on this. I think honestly the removal, even if we just have a cleric and one party member, the other thing we'll keep an eye on is we do need to keep picking up creatures, which would make this one good. Yeah, the Skyclave is interesting. I'm not really playing Landfall. Kabira Takedown. Deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. So that would also be interesting for the splash. I think it's... So, and here's the thing that I'm thinking on this, right? For it to be, let's say, good, we need to have 3 creatures at least on that, which hopefully, if we have 3 creatures, we'd have at least 1 in our party, which means this would, at the same time, would reduce this spell to casting 4, and it's just a straight up kill. So I think there's more situations where this one, we could sneak it in and we could use it to kill something off. And having the land on the back would be interesting for our splash color. I think, though, just the straight up kill in our colors is going to be better. Let's look at this rare. I don't think I'm playing it because we're not really in blue, but maybe it's good enough to splash. 2 creatures, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. And create an illusion. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not something that I think is going to make a difference in what we're doing here. So we'll pick Deadly Alliance. We can just straight up removal, no conditions. The other one was interesting. If we were in white as our main and black as our splash, we probably would have taken the other one. But it's hard to say. And again, just not knowing kind of where we're at. All right. Bayin Veil is definitely an interesting one. I don't think it's interesting enough to change our thing. Roiling Regrowth Again, lets us ramp and get some of those colors. Vastwood Surge, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Sacrifice a land, search for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped. So let's get sack 1 for 2. So we go up 1. This lets us get 2 for 1 more mana. And we can kick it to put the counters on, which is like interesting. And late game we might do it. Early on I think we just do it as a 4. I also know I like these 3 drops here. So I think getting in something in the 4 is a good idea. We're missing, yeah, some of these things. We didn't really go hard into the clerics, so I'm not worried about that. Subtle Strike is definitely a great black instant for messing with combat damage and those things. I would be happy to pick something like that up. The other thing, Reclaim the Wastes. I don't know for 4. We get the same effect here. We don't get the option to kick it and do it, but we can for 1 just get 1 card, and then for 4 we can get this. Since we already have one of those, though, I want to try this Vastwood Surge. I'm not sure on it. Again, figuring some stuff out too, so I like to play with a variety of things rather than just go heavy in on one set of things. Alright, so here's this Paired Tactician. We did talk about, we do want to work on creatures. Yeah, we only have 5 creatures. And so it's definitely an important idea for us. Some of these ramp cards and stuff will thin our deck to help us draw better. And hopefully hit more creatures. This Malakir Rebirth is definitely an interesting card. Lets you kind of basically regen on the fly. And then it also doubles as a land. So we can keep an eye on it. The Roiling Regrowth. I don't know that we need a third effect. If we get another one, probably just to Reclaim the Wastes. Because we don't need more expensive ones. And then we've got the Sellsword, we've got the Disenchant, the Prowling Felidart, which again I do really like. Or we could pick up a Deadly Alliance for removal. Might of Marasa I don't think is worth it. So I don't know that we have enough. We're light on creatures, and yes, this kind of lets us cheat a creature back in after like blocking, chumping for something, doing that. I think though, in all honesty, I'd rather just kill something outright than try and do some cutesy stuff. Alright, so we'll pick that. And as I keep saying, we need to prioritize some creatures. So we've got some good creatures in our colors here, or it looks like some options at least. Again, I don't know enough about the set to really want to read and care about all these blue and red cards and try and figure out if they're good enough. I'm going to assume they're not worth splashing. So that's why I'm just kind of skipping over them real quick. The Skyclave Sentinel is interesting. It's hard. I always want to kick it, and then it just ends up sitting in my hand. So I think at 3, though, I'd rather play, or I guess at 2, I'd rather play this Gnarled Colony than the 3 for that, even though it does have the flying. We've got some removal. Alright, so if it was kicked, it enters as a 4/4. If you control the +1/+1 counter on it, has trample. So that goes into that black-green trample, or a counters kind of thing. We don't have a lot of ways to add counters. We do have that Vastwood Surge. We've got a couple of things with Kicker that let us bring that in. Let's see, this Canopy Baloth. Whenever land enters, it gets +2/+2. I want to have some earlier game stuff. The Hagra Constrictor. This always enters with 2. Each creature controlled a +1/+1 counter has menace. So that's definitely interesting. I still like this Gnarlid Colony, I think, just a little bit better. It's got more utility. And then this Attended Healer. That's interesting, and I like it. Would generate some creatures, and it's a cleric for our party kill spell here, but who knows? This Dauntless Survivor now looks really good. It lets us put a counter on something. It's a warrior that adds to our party count, and it's a 2-drop. So it hits kind of and fills in with what we're doing on this deck really well. Yeah, that's... the other option we have, Expedition Skulker as a Vampire Rogue. As a 2/2. Needs another Rogue. I wouldn't mind picking one of those up. But we maybe have other options. I really like this Dauntless Survivor right now with some of those counter synergies we've got going on. Okay, this is where I think I might take this Cleric. Oh, and as I say that, I see that we have another Cleric in color that also gets counters when we get +1/+1 when we gain life. At 5, we have a lot at 5, but it also does have flying, and it's a 3/3. So I'm gonna take it. All right, and then we're pretty close here where we're getting this. Yeah, we could use, you know, the next 4 of our cards. We could really fill this in with 4 creatures. We do have a whole other pack. I don't know that I want to get another Blood Price. I really am not going to play it. I think Scale the Heights is interesting. I would get it. I'm actually going to get this Paired Tactician. And I'm going to put it in the sideboard, but just in case we really run it low on creatures, we do have that way 2 here in the sideboard that we're hopefully not having to play, but are available for us. Let's see, Adventure Awaits. Creature card from among them, I'll put in here, put the rest of the bottom. And then otherwise draw a card. That's actually really interesting. You draw if you miss. Oops. So if you don't hit a creature, you get to draw a card anyways. And I do think this Guldra's Mucklord that we have one on the side already is definitely a little bit better now that we have some +1/+1 counter synergy. I think it's between, for me, it's between the Adventure Awaits and the Mucklord. The reason if I can get another Blight Priest or another Cleric or something, I would play it over the Mucklord. So that's why I'm going to take the Adventure Awaits. Alright. And now, again, that Strength of Solidarity now does get a little bit better. But I think we need to take this creature. It's a rogue. So that helps with that. It's also a creature which adds to our creature count. So now we're at 19 cards. We have 9 creatures. I'd like to get 3 more, which means we might have to cut a non-creature spell. Which is fine. I think we'll take this Brute. Just again to get that creature count. It is a warrior. So it does give us some party things. Might is definitely interesting, the Might of Marasa. I think I'm going to take the Broken Wings as a kind of quality sideboard pick. That discipline of thinking what makes the most sense in your sideboard. We do have to remember this is still just pack 2, so we can look for upgrading. We've got a good solid start. We can look for upgrading and picking better options in pack 3. And then we'll take the Hogger Constrictor here. As our 21st card. So yeah, I'd like at least one more creature, maybe 2 for our next 2 cards. We already have a disenchant. We'll take a uncommon for the collection. Okay. Now this is we've got some interesting things here. We've got the Journey to Oblivion, which I like is interesting to splash into our white, our off color. We also only have the Smite the Monstrous. We could take the white out because we could pick up something like Feed the Swarm that lets us just straight up destroy a creature. We lose life, but again, we're working on some life gain aspects. We could get another Vastwood Surge, but I think that's much worse. We could pick up the dual land just for the collection, and maybe hope that something like Feed the Swarm wheels. Rabbit Bite is a great removal spell as well, but I would take Feed the Swarm over it. This Blight Blade as a 1/1 Death Touch to let us get something out early as a creature is really good. And then Vanquish the Weak, also a really good card here. And so if we cut the white, we could also cut something like the Roiling Regrowth and not be as worried about kind of ramping or being able to find that color. So that's the other reason I think I'm going to stay away from the Journey. It's not worth it. There's really 4 cards in here I wouldn't mind having coming around. So I think taking the rare, while I love the idea of taking the rare just because it's fun, I think is not necessary here. And really the question is, do we want Feed the Swarm as straight up removal, or a Blight Blade as an early play and essentially removal as well? Either it's removal, or they use a combat trick on it, or a spell on it, and eats something up. I think Feed the Swarm is just the better card. It's better than Vanquish the Weak. It's better than Rabbit Bite. And then hopefully this Blight Blade wheels. If it doesn't, there's definitely things in here we would be interested in on the way back around. So let's do that. The Stonework Pack Beast is interesting for party. I don't know that it's going to do enough for us, especially since we've got options in our color. Did we take a Mind Drain before? We did not. I don't know that I need non-creature spells. We really do want to make sure we have enough creatures. And I'm going to take the Scythe Cat because it gets counters with landfall, and that's really good. And it does play with some of these land pieces. There's so many options here. We could take another colony. We could take this guy, which lets us get things like the colony back. Or the Scythe Cat. I just think this is gonna fit with what we want the best. So right now we've got 23. I want to kind of try and be disciplined and make cuts. So we got 12 creatures, 11 non-creatures. If we want another creature, we've got to cut a non-creature card. We still kind of have this Smite hanging out that we might get rid of. Alright, so let's see what we've got in our color. Let's look at this one just because it's the uncommon. Instant sorcery or wizard spell. So that might be the kind of the blue-red is instant sorceries and wizards. I don't care about that. Don't care for that. Don't need that. So it's down to this, the Jiraga Visionary or the Scion of the Swarms. And the Scion of the Swarms just works with everything we've got going on. And I like it. The question is, what do we cut for it? And I think we cut the Dreadworm. We can bring that Dreadworm back in if we decide we need more creatures and cut something like the Smite or the Blood Price for it. But again, I just want to be disciplined in making sure we kind of stick to 23. And the other thing, I don't know, I haven't figured out how to count these kind of double-sided land cards as far as your lands go, so I just want to go with 23. Make sure I hit my land drops and do that. Okay, so we've got another Dauntless Survivor, which helps. We've got the Canopy Baloth, which I'm not going to take. The Subtle Strike, which is a great card. Blood Beckoning. That's lets us do a little bit of regrowth. I like the Subtle Strike, but I don't know what I would cut for it. The other option is the Dauntless Survivor. I don't know that we need any of them. So in fact, I'm going to just take the uncommon there and not make a decision. I will choose not to choose. So the Sky Dancer is definitely interesting. It's a human rogue. It has flash and flying. Which we would be cutting. I think we would cut this warrior for the rogue, which hurts our party a little bit. But we have only one other rogue and one other warrior, so it's kind of a toss-up either way. So let's move the Brute to the board. And the Sky Dancer down. Here is where I'm going to take this other Feed the Swarm and move the Smite the Monsters to the sideboard. It's essentially going to be an upgrade for us. It does cost us. We're hoping to get some life gain effects and do with that. Let's take an uncommon. Here, I'm going to take a Dauntless Survivor, put it to the sideboard again so we can look at our curves. So I'm going to take this Vastwitch Surge and move the Regrowth to the sideboard. I don't know if they're perfect or not. If that's the perfect idea or not, but we're going to take it. Just take some more uncommons. We've got a deck that we like. On it, kind of, unless something really stands out, We'll take stuff in our colors that work. Or some uncommons and cards for the collection. Alright, so that's our deck. We've kind of got our 23. I'm going to poke around and play with it a little bit, and then we'll come back as soon as I have it kind of finalized of what I want it to look like, if I make any changes or not. Alright, we'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, I came back. The only change I made, I cut the Adventure Awaits to add a Dauntless Survivor, which puts my creatures up to 13 and my non-creatures down to 10. The other consideration, well, first on that, the Adventure Awaits I cut. We've got Reclaim to thin the deck, we've got 2 Vastwood Surges to thin the deck, and we've got Blood Price to draw some cards. So I thought between all of those, Adventure Awaits hits maybe a creature, or we just draw a card. And in general, we've got enough stuff to kind of manipulate the deck, I think. The other consideration that I have on top of that is getting rid of the Blood Price for something like the Marasa Brute, another creature, to make it 14/9 instead. I think I'm going to keep it this way. I'm still kind of back and forth on that. The reason this is good is it gives us another warrior, which helps for a few of those party things. We don't have a ton of party. We don't have any wizards to flesh out our party. It does that. But I do like the idea of kind of getting to draw, and if we, for some reason, are stuck on land, or we can draw into a Vastwood Surge or something that then lets us kind of take care of all of those things. And it's just a 3/3 warrior. The other option could be take out the Relic Vial, but I do have 4 clerics that it works with, or the Hagra Constrictor. But it gives those creatures menace with the +1/+1 counters. It comes in with +1 counters itself, and works well with our Gnarlid Colony, which gives things trample. So I think that's the reason I'm going to keep it here. And decide this is kind of the final. Those are some other considerations I thought. So definitely feel free, leave some comments, give me your feedback. I'm happy to learn, what your thoughts. Maybe this card's no good at all. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of new with this draft format, but we're going to take it in and we're going to see. So thanks for joining us on the draft portion. We'll see you guys in the matches.